the Everything But Politics podcast.
All right, guys, we're back. Everything But Politics podcast. Joining us, Derry Byrne. Derry, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me, and thanks again for your patience.
It is our great pleasure to have you with us today.
Now, Derry, at what age did you get into woodworking?
Well, I would say probably as young as I can remember, and it was probably about 5 years old, thanks to my dad.
What a great dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, it was. And later on, as time went by, I came from a broken family, so I have like a stepdad as well, and he was an awesome woodworker too. So I had actually two dads that knew how to, like, who taught me woodwork. So it was I got a kind of like a double dose of that.
And when you went to high school, was there a class that you took?
Yeah, absolutely. I took mechanics, drafting, metalwork, woodwork, art, and I really kind of gravitated towards them for sure. And but I can remember the woodwork was not. It was kind of maybe simple. It wasn't really. I don't really remember learning much there. I do have a fairly significant safety memory from there, though. If you wanted to hear,
Let's hear it.
Just asking me about high school woodwork reminded me of it. But basically, that number one rule is never horseplay around power tool or machinery, right?
I would agree.
Makes sense.
That's and some of the guys were kind of goofing around in class, and we had these wood lathes, in this one section, and one of my friends had his finger in the spindle on one end, and he had this finger in the spindle, and another guy accidentally hit the power button, and it ripped his finger out of his hand. Literally ripped his finger right at, because it came on and it got stuck, ripped his finger out. His tendon was flapping and blood everywhere, scream. And it was a pretty major injury for him. And to this day, he's got three fingers and a thumb. Like, he lost the finger. They couldn't repair it. And just like kind of like a Simpsons hand now.
That's funny. That's a brutal
But
story.
I'll never forget that. Like, it was a fairly significant memory of woodwork class back in like grade 10 or something. And you've got to really focus and pay attention to everything when you're using power tools. And actually, I just had a friend send me a picture of one of his workers that had his hand. He almost lost two fingers. That actually just this week on a table saw. And it's one of the most. It's one of the. It's one of the most. It's one of the easiest tools to injure yourself on. But, anyways.
No, why don't you think they have that class anymore in high school? None of us had a woodworking class, and I feel like that. Yeah, I don't feel like that's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, a few thoughts come to mind. One of it is we've kind of gravitated away from the trades and more into the technical world. The technology and that aspect of it. I know that I went right into the trades after high school. Well, actually, I was still in high school. I went into the trades, and I worked in construction for, I would say, most of my life, and I ran my own construction company up until about 5 years ago. And but that's what I would say is that everything has become automated and mechanized and algorithmed and all. It's I would like to see people go back towards the trades and towards making things instead, because I think America, like you guys are from America,
Yep.
they outsourced all the making to China and everywhere else, right? And your number one industry is pushing paper and finance and loans, right? That's kind of what happened, what I saw. So um that I would really like to see. I mean, I know a lot of young people are interested in making stuff and working with their hands and getting involved in stuff if it's put in front of them, right?
Well, your children experienced with crafting like you are?
Pardon?
Have you taught your children your crafts of woodworking?
Well, yes, not as much as I'd like to, but I only have one son, and he helps me now and again, but he he's right into the tech stuff. Like he's
Gotcha.
right into computers. He actually knows how to program. He types about 250 words a minute. And it's sometimes hard to get him out of that and into the shop.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it's just, again, people are so into the technical world.
Yes.
The digital, everything's being digitized and videoized. And I mean, look at me, I make videos. I mean, I probably do it too much, right? So
Well, it's not a bad thing, as it allowed us to reach out to you and find you and what you're building. And speaking of what you're building, you go back to 5-year-old Derry to now. You mentioned in a previous interview that you were on your own at 16, and you're after grade 12 you were really done with school and you went off to work. When did your passion for creating guitars begin? Was that in your 20s, later on? How did that even come about?
well, it actually it was only a few years ago. Like um basically what happened was I worked in construction and I really love construction. I eat, lived, breathed construction, and I ran my own small company. I had mostly just one employee and we did everything. But I started working for a lot of other builders and stuff, and one of my specialties was drywall. So I would go in and drywall a house, like board, tape, and finish, and paint or whatever. Like I would do like dirt to drapes. But a couple of good friends and builders friends of mine, they would always get me to do the drywall, and I got sick of it. I got burnt out on it. And so about 5 years ago, it was like a switch went off. I was doing a giant house. It was like 18,000 square feet of drywall. And I went one day down to do the basement, and it was just another box. It was just another square box, square room. And it was so boring and there was no creativity. I just said, I got to get out of here. And it was literally like a switch went, and I said, that's it, I'm done. I quit. I don't know what it'll take to do, like to make a living, and I kind of retreated to my wood shop. And I started making furniture, like tables and jewelry, and just getting into working with wood again. Cause I used to make custom kitchens. I've made lots of custom kitchens. I would design and completely make a kitchen and then renovate your kitchen and install the kitchen and do the whole job, like even plumbing and electrical if you wanted it. But
Wow.
if need be, if there wasn't the trades to do it. But I've always done woodwork and I've always worked with wood all through. And then, so anyways, I went through, and then of course the world went through an incredible change recently over the last 4 years. And here I was going through a major change in my work. And then I was looking at a guitar, and of course I have a friend who came over with the guitar body, and he's like, hey, can you make me a guitar body? And I was like, sure. And then next thing you know, I made a resin and burl guitar body. And once I did that, I saw the value in, I could put my art within a guitar body, and then it's like another artist can pick it up and do their art with it. So it's like compounding art.
That's cool.
So in a long roundabout way, that's how it started.
Well, so Derry, for our listeners who aren't aware of the uniqueness of the guitars that you build compared to, your regular Fender or Gibson guitar, can you tell the listener a little bit about what you do that makes your guitar so special?
Okay. And I'll say this, I'm relatively new to making guitars. Although I've been woodworking forever, most people make a guitar body out of just wood, 100% wood, whether it's like, like a mahogany body with a drop top or just a solid wood and painting. I use like usually burl and epoxy. I mean, that's that's kind of like my main, what I prefer to do. And I would say most epoxy workers, they make like an opaque project where you can't see through it, but I like the epoxy that you can see through it, and you can see right into the work, and it kind of adds an element of I don't know, mystery. Like when you look at it, you can see it's not, you can't just look at it, you can look into it. And it kind of opened up a whole kind of realm of art for me that's kind of limitless, because there's so much you can do with it. There's so many I've just got so many ideas that you can do. So mainly I do resin and burl wood bodies for the guitars. And there's lots more to a guitar, and many people argue that it'll sound like crap, but they don't realize in an electric guitar, most of your sound comes from the pickups. And with an acoustic guitar, it's all about the tone wood. Like it's definitely has everything to do with the wood, because the sound is coming from the resonance of the tonality of the wood, is comes from the wood that the guitar is made out of. But with an electric guitar, you can put a $20 pickup in it, and a good guitar player can make it sound amazing. So that's a kind of a loaded conversation. We could talk about that for a long time, but anyways.
Well, I first saw your guitars. They came up on my Instagram on my reels, and it was one of the guitars you built. It almost looked like an aquarium inside of the guitar. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, yeah. It's kind of the one, like it's like an H2O theme guitar.
Yes.
It's yeah, that's I'm developing that so that it's like a kind of like even though they're a one of a kind, each one is a one of a kind, like everyone is different. I can still create that theme because I have kind of like a combination of materials and stuff that I work with. And there's a few things that I've discovered that help make it really look like water.
Yeah.
So
they absolutely do look like water. And I was wondering, how long does it take you to build a guitar like that?
that's an interesting question. Basically, I've never kept track of how long it takes to build these, because there are so many stages to making them. Like I could take you through a whole bunch of stages, but because it's broken down into so many smaller stages over time, I've never like focused on trying to time every stage. And in fact, many times I just lose track of time. I get into the zone, and I get so into it, I lose myself in it, and it's like, oh, it's 8:30. I better pack, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but it's, I've thought about it, and you know what? I don't know how long it takes for each one.
That's fair. They're all a little
Not yet.
different, probably, anyways.
Yeah.
Well, Derry, have you ever worked on acoustic guitars and built an acoustic guitar?
No, but I definitely want to, and I will at some point. I have a brother. Well, both my brothers. I have a twin brother and an older brother, and they both play guitar amazingly. They kind of got into guitar playing, and my older brother was in a band in the '80s while I was on the construction sites, right? And my brother plays the guitar like the wind. It's amazing. So, and I'll never be able to be as good as they are, but I definitely want to build an acoustic guitar at one point. And I finally found a guy fairly close by, but the poor guy, he's in the hospital now, and he was gonna. Well, I hope he still does. He's gonna show me a lot more about guitar making. He's showed me a few tricks and taught me some stuff already, but eventually I will.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So
I follow
You're
some
good.
really good acoustic builders on Instagram, and I'm taking note, and for sure.
So when you build these electric guitars, do you also build the necks on them?
No, not yet. That's one thing that I haven't done yet. I've started, and I have a couple started, but I haven't completed necks yet. And basically, I guess part of it is that I kind of do it for a living now, and I've got to make some stuff that I can put on the market,
Yeah.
and I can get some amazing necks like by Fender, and for the price that I can buy them for, I could never make them in a week or whatever. So it's been I'm in the process of learning more about guitars, but I am relatively new to guitar making. So
Yeah.
I eventually I'll be making next too, and I'm working on that.
So for our listeners who might be interested in your art and purchasing a guitar from you, what do you usually sell your guitars for? What do they range?
And do you do all custom ones, or do you have stock like guitars that are just available for sale whenever?
Well, I do mostly customs, and I have some like spec ones that I have one ready now that it's the last one that I showed. Do you want me to grab it and show it to you?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Sure.
It's right here. Hang on.
All right. All
Let's
right, all right, all right.
go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go,
Yeah.
Ethan.
This is gonna be
Ethan,
So
cool.
we'll see
Ethan,
if the camera
don't
can pick
blink.
it up. So I don't know if you can. I'll try and.
You gotta bring it a little closer.
Oh,
Yeah,
there you
there.
go.
No, is it blurry or
Yeah, a
can you
touch,
see
a
it?
touch.
There
There
you
you
go.
go. There we
Right
go.
there.
There we go.
So
Look at
this is
that
the
thing.
latest one that I made,
Wow.
and it's
Gorgeous.
a quilt. I'll just explain what I did. It's got a quilted maple drop top, and it's
Oh,
book
yeah.
matched, right?
Yeah, I like that.
And it's got a layer of black walnut underneath the drop top and the burl slab. The main body is big leaf maple from my buddy in Oregon.
That's
Is it
pretty.
still in focus?
No, yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
looks good.
Oh, yeah.
Looks good.
Okay. And it's got string through. It's got the ferrules here for the strings. I designed this pocket here like so that I have a template that cuts that every time, but I make these all by hand. But I
Wow.
made
Gorgeous.
templates. I made templates to let me just show you the back plate I got here. This is so
Yeah,
I
that
made it
matches nicely.
Oh yeah.
so it's repeatable, right? So there's the back plate, and then of course it's got the resin,
Yeah,
the
the
blue
resin looks
resin,
amazing. Looks like
and
water.
I've got the live edge. So I've blended the walnut, the quilted maple, and the big leaf maple all into the same live edge, and then I have a this is my glow in the dark edge banding, and it's got abalone shells in it,
Wow.
right? And I've got the pickup. I got a guy in Nova Scotia that helped me. I made the tops for it, And then the pickup I made these tops for the pickup, so it's glow in the dark and burl pickup.
That's pretty cool.
And of course it's a Fender neck, but they make nice necks.
Oh yeah, they do.
And if one of our listeners wanted to buy this, how much would that guitar cost?
Well, I'm hoping to get $3,000 for this one, which is actually not bad considering I've seen some custom guitars going for like 10, 12K on the
absolutely.
And I've got my logo on the neck plate. You see my logo there?
Yes, I like that.
Yeah, and also I started getting my logo put on the locking tuning keys. I don't know if you can see that.
That's wonderful. So
I got
when you first started filming yourself with making these guitars and putting it on Instagram, how long did it take before one of these videos blew up? Because I saw a couple that had 10, 11 million views. Like, how did that change your life? How did that feel?
Well, it certainly felt great. And the thing of it is I'm extremely competitive as a person. And like when I go to learn something, I want to learn it. Like I want to become really good at it. And I get like super like hyper focused at it. So when I was trying to figure out Instagram, it was super frustrating because Instagram sucks in a way because you have no control over it. Yeah. And you could lose your account tomorrow, really.
Oh yeah.
And the algorithm, they'll change it, or there's like, oh, this and this and everything. So, and then there's all these other whether it's like YouTube or TikTok and all these other things. I liked Instagram and I said, I'm just going to focus on Instagram. I'm not going to try. I've got a TikTok and this and I kind of dabble in it, but I went, you know what? I'm just going to do my own thing. And I'm going to just do what I think looks good. And I started making videos, and the furniture ones started to blow up first.
Wow.
And then, when I started making guitars, I kind of learned more about what works and what doesn't. And I found that, a generation or two below me have a very short attention span, and things need to be like really shortened up to a small clip.
Yeah.
And I found too that people really like when they can see the final product at the end. Even though I don't care, I'll show the first beginning stages because it's worth. Anyways, a lot of it has to do with how Instagram works. And if you
absolutely,
you can't just put a video on there and think that you're going to blow up. There's a lot more to it. And I've studied it like quite carefully, and I've found out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, you definitely have to tailor
for me. Yeah, totally. But it can change. So
yeah. Well, Derry, much respect for this pivot you've made in your professional career, going from a different type of construction to creating these incredible guitars. And speaking of your social media, where is the best place for our listeners to find you on these social media platforms?
It would be at Instagram. So at Derry_woodworking. That's it. It's nice. DERRY.
And Derry, if somebody wanted to purchase a guitar from you, where would they go for that?
Well, in the bio or whatever on my front of my page, there's a link tree, and you can get my website there. You can probably the best and easiest way is just to message me on Instagram. I'm
perfect.
I'm most available on Instagram. You can message me. I answer all my messages myself. I don't have I do everything. So
hell yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Derry, we greatly appreciate you joining us for this very special episode, and look forward to seeing you and your art really just take over, and hope you continue to have fun doing it. So thank you very much, Derry.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me and for your patience because I know we were supposed to do this a long time ago.
Yep. All good. Right. Let's sell some guitars.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah,
thanks
that was
a lot.
Of fun.